They come from miles to share their arts at events like Black Comic Book Festival, Latino Comics Expo, Indigenous Con, and SoulCon, in a new but almost secret world that coincides with social media pages where race and color are embraced, where it's okay to be a black girl nerd with black nerd problems, or an indigenous nerd, or beautiful black women who have opened their own comic book stores. So why do they come? They certainly don't do it for the money or fame. They're virtually unknown outside the comic book world, but their talents more than rival mainstream comic book companies. Their reunions connect them like family. So does their confidence to dress the part, and the freedom to do and be whatever they choose to be. But what really brings them back and forth across the country? What's their struggles as black and Latino artists? Do black and brown heroes matter? Are the next generation as hungry as I was to see diversity in movies and comic books? Are they wondering, where are the heroes that look like me?
So the person that Lamorse was talking to said that our books were too mainstream to be indie. I take that as a compliment because of the fact that their perception of being a creator of color is being less than what the market has to bear, the quote-unquote mainstream market has to bear, read white market has to bear. And so with our books, what we've been able to do is we shatter expectations and we shatter stereotypes of what people of color do, can do, already do in this comic book sphere. So in a lot of ways, that comment was actually a weird sort of backhanded compliment. Do Black comics matter? Because Black lives matter.
All comics matter. All comics matter.
Excuse me, let me clarify. I should say that Black lives matter too. Black voices matter too.
Yes.
Black visions matter too. Diverse viewpoints of the world matter too. In other words, and that's another thing that's really fascinating about that whole concept, is that there is the quote-unquote mainstream, and then there's the other. And the interesting thing about the mainstream is really the mainstream is the minority, because the other is the rest of the world. So it matters because we are part of the voice of the rest of the world. That the minority, i.e. the mainstream, is trying to clamp down and put forth their narrative. So it's important for us, it's our duty to counteract that, to combat that by being who we are, creating what we create in the space that they say is for them.
Without limitations.
Exactly.
Well, I can say at first, growing up, I didn't really think about it a lot of times. I'm just an artist, just, doing what you love to do, but considering, I would say, like the climate of today's political, I guess, agenda, climate, whatever you want to call it, I see it today, okay, as really being important as to me being a black artist in this industry, because I see a lot of folks who have, raised questions about this whole Black Lives Matter, Black Lives or Black Heroes, and it's like they see where, the way I see it is that, like, we're asking for more kind of rights, kind of a thing, or more, we're asking for more. But I just see it as, we're just asking, just for me, I see it as, just more respect as you would anybody else. But obviously, the heroes, the black lives, the black heroes, I see it does matter because, as the industry has gotten, to me, more wide open, as it's not just your major publishers now, and other characters of other, ethnicities, brown ethnicities are really important because, obviously, you have, the white, the Caucasian characters, white characters, they're always there, and obviously they aren't going to go away, but it's just, the infusion of black and brown characters in the industry. I think it's good for everybody, and hopefully that the addition of the Black Panther movie will, again, give people a little bit more like tolerance out there, you know what I mean? Because to me, it's like a lot of folks have become less tolerant, not in every area, but some areas I feel that it's really needed.
I strategically place bumper stickers on our car, right? So we got the fish, we're Christian, okay, cool. We got the Ohio State alumni thing on the back of our license plate, right? So that says we're Christian and we're college educated, right? And then we have my kid is on the honor roll here. I don't really care about that. I really don't even want people to know where my kids go to school. But I put that there so now you know there's children in the car, it's a family. So my daughter goes to a private school in a somewhat exclusive area here in Columbus. And so when my husband is driving through those neighborhoods, that bumper sticker is giving him permission to be in that space. And I feel like, and then the stick figure people, which I think are ridiculous, but I have them on the back of there. So, it's the mom, it's the dad, it's the 3 kids, it's the dog. I'm working to humanize this family that's in this car, so you think twice. You find something that you recognize within this family. So I tell this story online all the time, right? And the same people who I see in their posts, all lives matter, blue lives matter, purple, and this, that, and the other, they don't see race. They stop and they think, oh, because I know her children. I like the Halloween costume images. I bought cookies.
Honestly, there are a lot of black and brown artists who just aren't part of the mainstream of comics. I don't know if they've been ignored or if they just haven't been allowed to enter into the mainstream. But I mean, their voices are important. It's a very important aspect of American culture, American society. Of black and brown culture, and it's very much needed in the comic sphere. I can remember growing up, and there was comics that had all white characters. I mean, all white teams, all white cast. And you would sit back and say, hey, where am I being represented at? Or, or someone that looks like me. And I think that's very important for people to read this medium and see a reflection of themselves. I mean, granted, you don't have to have a black and brown character to get that reflection, but I mean, it definitely helps having a diverse cast in the comic book. And, and it's also important that the medium reflects American society. So that's why I think those voices are important. I would like to see definitely more minorities being a part of that mainstream aspect. It's really strange to see just the lack of black and brown creators in comics. It really is.
What Black Lives Matter, what these kind of things mean, and I feel that a lot of the consensus amongst amongst Anglos is that it is about us kind of drawing attention to our suffering, like the things that are going wrong for us. That kind of dawned on me, it's not even about us suffering in silence, it's just us living in silence. And it's about visibility. It's like we're here. And I feel like in this sort of space, it's like, yeah, we're here and we're doing a thing. We're contributing to, we have our own art form. We have our own culture that's separate in a way. And for me, it's just about this is a place where I can be like, yeah, here's a thing that I do that is inherently Chicano, and it's not, my comics about wrestling. It's not like super political, but the fact that it's lucha libre done from a Chicano in a way that is respectful of the sport and the culture it comes from, and I'm not trying to anglify it in a way that makes it palatable and just like this is the thing that needs to be. It's just a declaration of presence. Like we're here, and I feel like Black Lives Matter isn't necessarily about like you need to stop killing black people, although we should definitely stop killing black people. But it's just about like, yeah, black people are here, and this is the reality of them being here, and yeah, so that's what it means to me. Just visibility, just letting them know we exist.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's things that we need to recognize that might be unpopular, but we really do have to check them. So one thing, going back to the question of like experiences, where there was some tension or whatever, there was a few articles that started coming out not too long ago, basically saying, there's all this attention being given to black folks who are being murdered, but what about the Latinos? That was basically the headline. And I was just like, hell, like, are we really trying to compete over this? So, like, that was something, and it's still happening. I think it happened, there's been a lot of people checking their community on that, but it's still happening, this idea that there's this, like, competition between the two communities, and it's not even two communities, because if you see it that way, you're erasing Afro-Latinos. But there is still that competition, and honestly, I think a lot of it comes down to like us as non-black Latinos really checking other non-black Latinos and like bringing them into this like consciousness on what it really means to be black in the U.S. and what it means to be a non-black Latino in the U.S. Like, I mean, in our own families, we'll see it. There's colors in our own families. I'm hella pale, like I'm hella light skinned. So nobody's trying to pull me over as much as they might be trying to pull over my brother, who's significantly darker than I am. He's been pulled over multiple times. And then there's a larger spectrum of that discrimination, right? He might not be getting pulled over as much as somebody of even darker skin, somebody who's black. So there's, as much as like we definitely need to like push forward with uniting over common issues, I think it's also, you can't get to that unity until you recognize the differences in the way that we are discriminated against. Once we recognize them, then we really can open our eyes to what's going on in one another's communities, begin to understand them, and begin to come together. So there's unity and difference.
As an artist, it's a tightrope between grabbing some of the attention because your art is good, or if you have characters that people identify with. And I have this argument with a few people before. It's not that I want to do what's quote unquote fan art. It's just that in order for someone that doesn't know me to come to my table and look at my work, there has to be a reason. And this reason is twofold. One is the artwork is good, and or there's a character or characters or something that speaks to them. And most of the time, especially nowadays with comics being so mainstream, when they can relate to something, they come over and then they give you a chance. You know, they can look at, okay, well, this guy's actually really good, or this guy sucks, you know. And what initially brings them over is usually, okay, well, oh my God, that character, you know. And I think now the best thing about it is consumers, the art lovers, and comic book fans are becoming smarter about how they look at art. You know, they're not looking at the character. They're looking at the work put in. They're looking at the quality of the artwork. They're looking at the artists themselves, and they're looking at whether the person that's there actually did the artwork.
Yeah, that's a big.
And that's a big deal right
big
now.
deal.
That's a big deal right now. So for me, that's what keeps me going, you know, and being able to engage with the fans, with the people that come and see my artwork and all that kind of good stuff.
For me, it's a little different because both as a writer and a self-publisher, I'm dealing with a lot of properties that people don't automatically recognize.
Right.
So it's part of the thing about the mainstream in that regard is that it's almost a negative because I'm fighting against the mainstream. I'm not Marvel, I'm not DC, I don't have Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, or the X-Men. So those are characters that are already being promoted, so it becomes a little bit harder to, you know, get recognized on that stage. However, for me personally, I feel like if you try to like step aside from the mainstream because it's hard, then you're not doing yourself the service or your work the service, because you're basically placating to the idea that yes, this is hard, therefore I shouldn't try. I go with the mainstream because that's what I want my work to be a part of. I want it to be a part of the conversation. I might not ever be Marvel or DC, but when it comes to best books ever produced, I want my stuff to be in that conversation.
My parents, even with me wanting to be an artist, you know, and it's odd because black families, 9 times out of 10, especially back then, did not want their children to draw for a living. You know, drawing for a living is not in that book.
It's not a
you know,
guarantee.
where when the teacher asked you and Officer Friendly came into the room.
Right.
Did you guys have Officer
Oh, we had
Friendly?
Officer Friendly. We did.
He came into the room like
It's the same
everybody
thing.
wants to be a police officer and everybody wants to be, you know, a
Firefighter.
fireman and yeah.
I'm a doctor.
I want to be an artist. You know, like,
Crickets.
what?
Crickets.
You know,
Do black and brown heroes matter?
to coin a phrase,
Mm-hmm.
every hero matters.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Yes.
for me, the fact that for the most part we're underrepresented, and for my son, for your children, and for all of our friends' children, whether black or white, there's a such thing as diversity. Right? You know, it's a real word. It has real meaning. I think it's important for children to have a representation of themselves, something that they look like.
Why do black and brown comics matter?
It matters because we don't see a lot of it in the media, and because of that, we don't identify with most white cis characters. So it's great to see yourself in, comics and like animation, because it feels like you exist as a minority. We want to see more representation of ourselves, to the point where like I want to see someone that looks like me, someone I can relate to, so I can also feel like I exist in the world. I exist in the world. I exist in the world.
I've learned so much during this look into the lives of Black and Latino artists, and I find myself envious. They're not afraid to live their lives. So maybe it's time for me to follow in their footsteps. Maybe it's time for me to show what I can do. Introducing Ariel, the Lioness of God.
Make me black again while I'm talking.
Stop!
Oh, go ahead.
There's
Black of the bear,
there's
sweet of the juice. Come on, man, you good.
there
Not
are
on
filters.
video.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
iMovie has filters. I'm sure I can figure out how to.
We got you. Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna have
Enhance the
I'm gonna have
video.
that flower thing up. I'm gonna have all the Instagrams.
You gonna have a dog nose.
Yeah.
Every time you open your mouth, it's
Licking.
going.
Yeah. Okay.
And the one where the fire come out your eyes. I've seen that on the internet.
Reflective.
See, from this angle, you're
Great.
sucking up all the light. From this angle, I'm basically further closer to the thing.
Right.
So you're not able to jump my light.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I mean, we're both light skinned, so we was projecting at you.
Sucking up all the light.